Move over, Walter White. There's a new anti-hero in town, and his name is Super Matthew Robert Patrick Mario. Hello, Internet. You're not welcome to Game Theory, where we put the O in Super Mario. Huh. Did I say Super Mario as a reference to MatPat's Why Mario is Mental video? Well, I meant to say super villain, because behind that brown coiffed hair and that neuroscience major thinking posture is a truly evil man. And let me make it clear, yes, this opening paragraph is a joke, much like how MatPat probably thought this was a good joke too.
And to end on this note, will you go to prom with me, Medina?
That was nice, Matt. None of you guys out there better pass that opportunity up.
Noah's a longtime fan of watching Game Theory.
Gaming's tangential learning experience.
Yeah. I've noticed not a drastic drop in quality, but a rapid growth of well thought out and highly edited videos, with a couple of bad ones here and there. I mean, let's be honest, he didn't get a 2015 Streamy Award for Best Editing by still using his PowerPoint presentations, but it's with the conjoint effort of MatPat and his team of writers and researchers.
However,
over time, there's this sort of trend with the Twitter vultures, with them doing what they do best, and that's to cancel dear old MatPat. And while I can say how extreme that sounds for someone who makes harmless theory videos, my only complaint about MatPat is that he feels like he takes an authoritative role for video game theories and as I said before, his videos are supposed to be harmless, but with how he presents his videos as facts, and if you dare disagree or present the right information, then prepare to be bombarded by his obsessive, morbid fans within his audience.
Here comes the theorist fist!
With that being said, in this video, I want to go over most of the relevant controversies that MatPat has gotten himself into over the years. So much so that a lot of people online have been calling out MatPat for becoming a morally bad person around 2015 to 2016. And that's what I'll be hypothesizing today, if MatPat is the embodiment of Satan, whom he also states with these characters. So get ready to have your worlds rocked, theorists, because this will be a doozy that may or may not change how you feel about gaming's tangential learning experience. The warning signs were present from the very beginning. Oh, and before we get started, I just wanted to state this outright that I personally don't hate MatPat. I just feel like whenever he does crank out these videos on either of his channels, they're either going to be cash grab sponsor vids, FNAF lore, your run-of-the-mill theory, or something like this.
Better call Gay Theory up in here. Gotta find out if this is the lost cousin of Sans fucking Undertale or some shit.
So for this notorious moment in his career, we have MatPat's theory for the hit indie game Undertale and one of its most popular characters, Sans. And boy, did the fan communities really rip MatPat a new one. So besides the Wario vid, I feel like this one was one of the few videos that MatPat severely got chewed out for, and that's not a surprise coming from the presumably once toxic and zealotless community by the Undertale fandom. The same community that was too fast, too furious when Markiplier wasn't going for the pacifist playthrough. Also, just to note that MatPat thought it was a bright idea to give to the head of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Francis, a freaking Steam digital code of Undertale.
What the fuck is this?
Now, I was going to drive into the ground on how stupid this whole thing was until the Pope heard a certain theme from the game. But back to the Sans' Nest video. I'm not going to explain why his theory is completely wrong. Instead, I like to present to you Manga Common's video response, as I feel like he delves perfectly into the deconstruction of MatPat's hopes and dreams after you finish watching my video, of course.
Of course!
But yeah, I wouldn't say this was the beginning of the end for game theory, more of a turning point, which presumably be the worst to come. Although I can unanimously agree that this is where some fans were catching on to the sudden change in quality. Not the video quality, I mean the overall quality that was once put into his theories. Not that I'm saying that MatPat's theories in general were bulletproof, it's just sometimes I feel like he's reaching on some of these. What the fuck? And while we're still on the topic of Undertale, I think now's the best time to bring up the other indie title called Heartbound. What do both games have in common? I don't know. Why don't you ask MatPat's video titles and description? Like, some people have caught on as to how MatPat does clickbait, I mean advertising, for some of his videos. Since this was around the time Toby Fox released Deltarune, or what fans like to dub it as Undertale 2 Electric Boogaloo! This controversy caused quite a stir because MatPat was suggesting in the title that Heartbound is related to Undertale and or Deltarune when both games have nothing in common with the former. So much so that the game devs of Heartbound called out MatPat on Twitter for getting their studio name wrong and for not putting their game link in the video description. MatPat rebutted saying that he doesn't do that for all games he streams, which makes sense if it wasn't a AAA game that you see everywhere. But then the creator of Undertale, Toby Fox, came out and essentially bitch slapped MatPat in the face and said, of course you properly represent a game via the video titling or description, especially for indie games that barely get any notoriety if it weren't for reviewers and Let's Players. I personally don't like how MatPat doubled down when really who cares? It's called YouTube, or YouTube broadcast yourself. Does anyone remember when it was called that? Remember? So yeah, I don't like the idea of other people telling you how you should or shouldn't run your own YouTube channel when it isn't theirs. Even PewDiePie made similar remarks where he says it shouldn't be a big deal as that's how other YouTubers are doing this as a style of marketing. And another complaint I have about this was how MatPat essentially threw his team under the bus for not doing their research or giving links. This just gives me AVGN vibes, where besides the main content, he doesn't know what else he's doing or putting in the videos despite both of them being channel owners. I'm sorry, who's the YouTuber here? Because if you don't know what's going on with your channel, then
Do you feel in charge?
Also, keep in mind that there is a difference between good clickbait and bad clickbait. But seriously, I still can't get over this.
Oh no!
For those of you who are #blessed for not watching a single FNAF Theory video, first of all, I pity you for not remembering that one time you went to a Chuck E. Cheese and seeing those lovable mascot animatronic characters with those lifeless eyes and their deteriorating fur coats and huskless shell of a company that in no way, shape, or form resembles a video game franchise somewhat based on actual murders set in the 90s. But in all seriousness, I'm not giving an introduction on Five Nights at Freddy's. That's what MatPat's theories are for. I just want to go over the whole FNAF ARG debacle, where MatPat does what he does best by uploading a FNAF vid, and instead of making fans intrigued, it gave them the same reaction when FNAF Twitter fans discovered that Scott Cawthon donates money to Republicans. The FNAF ARG theory really tilted some fans as they called out MatPat for doxing, when in reality he didn't even dox anybody. That FNAF video is about trying to find out about a possible ARG, or commonly known as augmented reality game. A game that MatPat wanted to find out if it was even real because he was essentially asking fans for help, with a small minority of them calling out small businesses that are relatively close to their portrayal in the books. But other fans have pointed out on every front page of every FNAF book that it is fiction and no names or locations have any relevance to real life. This was even apparent back when the first game was released and fans somehow made a connection for an actual pizza place by a picture. And fans were calling these pizza places so much so that it even got Scott's attention that he had to ask them to stop, as he stated that it was all a coincidence. Scott Cawthon feels like he's under an obligation to make sure that the fans aren't too persistent and bother real-life stores and companies. I feel like MatPat shouldn't be given too much flack here because, in his defense, he thought that the books were trying to tell him something actually existing in the real world, coming from said world where animatronic sea monkeys can kill a person. So MatPat promptly apologizes and actually gives some advice or guidelines for how possible future ARGs should be run. But in terms of controversies, I feel like this is mundane in comparison to like his other ones, and I feel like MatPat actually handled himself quite well here.
And as if that weren't enough, watch as my crush card destroys both monsters on the field, as well as every powerful monster in your entire deck.
I'm going to make this bit nice and short, just like yours. Blah blah blah, MatPat made a theory on which Nintendo characters could survive the coronavirus. Blah blah blah, it was immoral because the video was uploaded when the virus started spreading throughout the US, and it was around the time when my state closed down schools and businesses. And here comes MatPat asking the big questions if Mario or Link could survive COVID while you're out of the job and your relatives are so sick that you don't know if they're gonna make it. But hey, that's just a theory, an immoral theory. And I know that I've brought this up before in my Everything Wrong with YouTube 2020 vid, but I still can't get over how MatPat had the gall to do this at the time. Until this day, that theory's video title is still called Who Will Survive Censored Virus, even though he uploaded a World of Warcraft theory before the Nintendo one, and that was called How WoW Almost Prevented the Coronavirus Crisis, which made people even more upset at MatPat in his Nintendo video because it felt like he wasn't taking the whole thing seriously. Especially when you consider how in his theory video prior he was taking the WoW corrupted blood plague theory more serious as how the incident could be implemented to real life scenarios. Which, for those of you who haven't heard about WoW's corrupted blood plague incident, then I would check out Yahtzee's vid on the subject matter, as I feel like it's more to the point and possibly even funnier.
My goodness, my glass house is sparkling delightfully in the morning sun. What a nice day to indulge in my favourite hobby of projectile mineralogy.
So even though I brought up MatPat's previous controversies, I would only consider that this censored virus vid to be one of the only ones where I felt like he didn't think of the morality for it at all, and just thought about YouTube's algorithms and Google Trends. Even though he said himself in the vid that the theory was going to be a stupid one. But I personally felt like MatPat should have replaced COVID with another disease, like the bubonic plague, and he probably wouldn't have gotten that much backlash. But his next one is when I felt like MatPat had lost his touch with his audience. This is the exact moment I thought when MatPat actually wanted Twitch to be more like YouTube. Bullshit. I know, right? Who the hell does he think he is? Some theater kid with a major in neuroscience? Or a guy that other YouTubers hire because he has a good understanding of Google Analytics? But it also didn't seem like a big deal for MatPat's Dear Twitch Grow Up vid until it apparently riled up a few people on the internet, especially a couple of well-known Twitch influencers who are essentially YouTubers because they gotta dump their reactions, content off somewhere, you know? Given the fact that YouTube is already a hellish platform, MatPat, for some reason, wants Twitch to be just like YouTube in terms of copyright infringement issues. Now on the surface level, it doesn't seem like a serious thing because YouTube and Twitch are two of the most popular video platforms of all time, but with the way MatPat was presenting it, where he said how Twitch streamers were deleting their VODs because Twitch told them to in order to avoid copyright troubles, was somehow immature to him. Now I know MatPat was implying that Twitch should have their own version of content creator tools like they do on YouTube, but don't just say that as if YouTube is the most perfect platform ever.
Of all time.
And the funny thing is that he says how convenient YouTube is for archived videos, even though you get situations like machinima.com, where almost every content creator on that channel has lost their catalogs on top of catalogs of shitty Call of Duty trickshot montages, where you have dedicated channels re-uploading PewDiePie's deleted videos. And this is going over two examples of channels that have a committed fan base and they shouldn't be reliant on backers re-uploading their own vids, or for the lack of a better word, archive said videos. Let alone the millions upon billions of videos being taken down by YouTube because of the abuse with their own copyright policies.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain. Time to die.
Dies of cringe.
A part of me kind of missed MatPat's older vids before the FNAF era, while the other part always tunes in on his newest theories. So I felt like I wanted to make this video out of my respect for the guy, despite my jokingly jabs towards him. And for those of you wondering why I didn't bring up MatPat mentioning Etika's reason for his suicide was because of him getting canceled, well, I think MatPat was raising a valid point about cancel culture because of how cancerous that type of behavior is. I just think that people were mainly upset since they thought MatPat didn't know any better about mental health, when in actuality I believe he does, with his once main editor Ronnie committed suicide just a year prior to Etika's passing. So yeah, I think MatPat was right about that topic, yet I think he's wrong in the sense that Etika didn't end his own life because he was never canceled to begin with. But MatPat wasn't wrong to presume that content creators like Etika could be taken over the edge because of the stress or the anxiety of living this abnormal life of a content creator, where you have to worry about watching what you say, how you say it, or even assuming someone's gender, let alone talking about your own political or personal beliefs. Which is ironic, given the fact that these Twitter vultures want more of is to make sure that their cancelled victims are never to be seen or heard from again. Also, this video was more of a response to diehard Pizzers vids of them quote-unquote showing proof that MatPat is ableist, transphobic, anti-Semitic, racist.
I'm intolerant of intolerance. That means it's okay.
So yeah, that's one of the few reasons why I made this vid, to show the actual morality that actually matters. In summary, no, I don't think MatPat is a terrible person. He's far from it. He does make his occasional odd decisions, but much like in his FNAF video about Scott Cawthon's controversy, all of the good things he's done far outweighs the bad. MatPat, in case you're watching... Sorry, must have been some indie horror game lore that I ate.
But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
I don't know about you, but when I'm filming YouTube videos at 2 o'clock in the morning about killing animatronic robots, I drink Diet Coke.
Please give us money.